Welcome to the Complete Fitness Podcast with Core 4 Complete Fitness. Your episode is starting in 3, 2, 1.
We shall see.
Hello,
Hello, peoples. Happy Wednesday to you all. Somehow we're almost done with March, and January was the longest month in the entire world. But I don't know how it's going to be April. It's freezing cold outside. But it is what it is. Like always, guys, before we get to rambling, if you could be so kind as to subscribe to this podcast, whether you're watching us on YouTube, listening on Spotify, iTunes, Apple, whatever your platform of choice is, there's a little subscribe button. And if you could press that thing, you'll get alerted whenever we drop a new episode. And then also, if you could share the show with anybody that you know might need help in terms of health and fitness, maybe they've struggled, maybe you've struggled, or you can kind of send this their way if they're stuck at all, and we can help grow in this thing through you guys. But today, you can start it off, Ev. You got the foundation laid out.
Okay. I think the very most important thing in order is we should congratulate ourselves on being champions.
Yeah, I woke up a champion this week.
That's the most
I don't know if you guys know that, but this podcast will have probably a completely different tone, and you'll probably look at us a little different. You'll probably look at us a little bit different. Now that me and Evan are Ed's hockey champions, our whole life is going to change.
Probably an aura and a glow when you saw, since you subscribed and you saw the new podcast pop up. Probably, there's probably a sound, like a trumpet sound. Something happened, which was different. That's just all it was. We're champions now. A very, very ultra competitive Ed's hockey champions, and we got it done.
That was a fun game, though. Went into overtime, scored right into overtime. The guy that runs the league came in before the game starts, and he's like, hey, just so you guys know, like, the formalities, he was like, if it goes to overtime, it's a 5-minute overtime, and then if nobody wins in overtime, then we're going to a shootout. But he was like, you guys aren't going to make it to, he's like, you guys will stop this team, and that'll be that. So we were like, okay, good. We'll just play hard, and we'll probably win 3-1 or something like that. And then sure enough, ends up going into overtime. We score in like the first literal 10 seconds. We win the face-off. Our guy takes it in, shoots it, scores. Very kind of anticlimactic because it happened so fast.
Anticlimactic goal.
But we got it done. Champions.
Yeah, we did. So refer to me as champ. And if you see me ignoring you around the gym, it's because you did not refer to me as champ. But we'll get used to it all together.
You probably just don't recognize your old name anymore. You know what I mean?
No. I make
that was the old me.
Chandis only calls me champion since Sunday night. Yeah. And I will not respond or, help out around the house unless I'm referred to as champion. Okay.
That's just a way of life. 365 days till whatever happens in the next season.
Yeah, right. Do the water boy. The Bobby Boucher, not Waterboy.
Yeah.
Bobby Boucher. Happy Gilmore. There it is.
What a complete difference a year makes, though. I know we probably told you guys on the last podcast, but last year we got killed. Almost every single game. We were in a division that was way too difficult for us to be in. And you could tell in the first 2 shifts, you were like, this is not going to be pretty. And then the games were on Thursdays. We were playing at 1:45 to midnight sometimes, 11:30. We're not done till after midnight. And then you still got to shower, still got to drive home. You're not getting to bed till 1 or 2. And the group of guys was great, so we all stuck together, thank God. But we found a division that's much more our pace, our speed, and our skill level.
That's right, baby. It's more
but
fun. But
champions nonetheless.
More fun when you're the best team than the worst team. But it's ultimately not the best for you. Which is a beautiful segue into, I guess, the main purpose of what we were talking about today. And I kind of had this go on today. I just was not feeling it this morning, segueing into work life. It's Tuesday morning, as you alluded to earlier. It's cold and miserable here in Michigan. We had like a couple weeks of very nice weather, 50, 60, 70 on one day, and sunny. And now it's just down in the dumps again. Um, should have been the other way around, right? Should have dealt with that earlier, and now it's getting nicer. Oh well, it's the price we have to pay. And I just didn't feel like getting out of bed this morning. It was hard, blah 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 blah. And I remember, the real hiccup that everybody struggles with, myself included, isn't actually the act of doing it, like getting out of bed, for example. It's just the first 5 minutes. Like getting out of bed is what sucks. It's getting out of bed right when you wake up, when the alarm goes off, is what is a challenge, right? Um, and the same goes for nearly everything. The more I've thought about it, the more I reflected on it. The same goes for nearly everything. It's not that you're battling, like for a workout, for example. If you're sore or if you're tired and you're just not feeling like giving, your all at a workout or something going on. Like this morning, I just got done at 9:30 doing leg day. My legs are already sore for whatever reason, and I was just like not feeling it. I had this moment again where I just said, it's not that you're worried about working out for the half hour. You're worried about the first 5 minutes. That's what is the hard part. And it's just interesting. You can relate it to anything in life, like the alarm clock. It's not the alarm clock going off. It's the first 5 minutes of everything happening. You want that kind of time to ease into something. Um, but when the thing in front of us is challenging, like a workout or a new job interview or going to the car dealership, whatever, everyone's got things that challenge them, whatever stresses you out, you can put that first 5 minutes off and never get to it. And then that's silly when you kind of put that perspective. You go, wow, I let 5 minutes of discomfort affect all of my progress or whatever.
Yeah. That's like kind of like you said, the getting out of bed thing. Like, how many times have you like laid in bed at 2, 3 in the morning and you have to pee like crazy? And then you're like, but I'm warm and I'm cozy. I'd rather
Right.
just hold this for 6 hours than go take a 5 minute pee and then just go right back to bed. But you will just fight that nonstop. But kind of like her, you were saying, what are those like secret Jedi mind tricks? Like, if I know that I need to do something or workout wise, instead of procrastinating, I'll make like the 5 minute rule. Like, whatever this thing is that I have to do, maybe it's cleaning, maybe it's taking out the trash. I'm like, I have to just get off my butt and go do this. Otherwise, 5 minutes will turn into 10, 10 will turn into 15, 15 will turn into 20, and then an hour goes by and you're still stuck. And I've given this analogy, I think, to you guys before, but there's that analogy where like you're pushing like a giant boulder and it all, or a car or whatever it is, and it always takes the most momentum in that first big push to get it actually going. And then once the wheels are spinning or that boulder's spinning, all you have to do is kind of give it a love tap every once in a while to make sure that it doesn't come to a complete stop. And it's the same thing with taking care of yourself. It's the same thing on doing stuff that you don't want to do. You're not going to feel great every day, but it's going to be 10 times more difficult if you allow that boulder or that car to stop. And if you can kind of give yourself that little quick recheck and go, okay, just do this. It's going to be 10 times harder if I let this come to a complete stop than it is to just start in these next 5 minutes. I'll have momentum, I'll get going, and then everything will start to kind of pick up where it left off the day before or the day before that.
Yeah, and it's fun to even think about in real time. You can just be very realistic with yourself. So when you wake up, let's keep using the alarm clock thing. When you wake up, it's basically, if you could set a 5 minute hypothetical timer in your head, it's going to incrementally get easier to just be awake and start your day throughout that 5 minutes. You're not going to feel as groggy and crappy and tired as you are the whole day, right? So you wake up, and what's the first thing you do? You brush your teeth, you go pee, whatever. That's always like the biggest struggle. You're just like, oh my God, I feel like death. I just want to go back to bed. But 2 minutes after that, it's a little bit easier. Okay, now I got to get my coffee ready. 2 minutes after that, you're getting dressed or whatever your pattern is. And then you're out the door, and like by the time you're into your car, you don't feel as bad as you did when the alarm went off already. And that might be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, depending on what your morning ritual is. So it's almost like when the alarm goes off, we get hit with the entire day. We go boom, and we go, how am I going to get over
I
the
got to
next
do this. I got to
24
do
hours?
this. I got to do this.
Yeah, how can I feel this tired, this just done, this much in need of a break, and the day is just starting? When in reality, all we're battling against is just do it for 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden that 5 minutes gives you the strength to do it. And workout is the number one example. You know, this alarm clock one is true; it works, but workouts are the exact same thing. You're not worried about moving your body for 30 minutes. You're worried about starting. The start is so hard to do. And I just, like I said, I just did it this morning. My legs were sore from hockey, and then I had a hard workout yesterday, which involved a lot of legs. And now today is leg day at the gym. Of course, it worked out that way. And, you know, I'm on dad mode after I leave here today. The babysitter leaves, then so it's I don't have time to work out, and I'm coaching tonight, so I can't jump in the class later. So I had to get it done right now. And yeah, it was just like 5 minutes into the workout, you're happy you're there. You're glad you did it. You feel good. Now my legs feel better than they did before. I got my workout done. I can move on with my day, not have this thing looming. When it would have been a lot easier in that moment to let that 5 minutes deter me, right? To me be like, okay, I'm just gonna not do it, and then I have to work out at 7 o'clock tonight, or that pushes down the road. Well, I guess today's a rest day, and then it's Wednesday, and Wednesday, you know, I coach in the morning, blah 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 blah. The beat goes on, as we know, and it's just kind of a nice, easy reset to go. You can do anything for 5 minutes, right? If I
Yeah.
can just talk myself into just do 5 minutes, I know 5 minutes from right now, this start, I'm going to feel better. So it's worth it. You know, stop the chatter.
And it is like that feeling of dread that weighs on everybody, where let's say you don't work out in the morning and you go, "Oh, I'll just do it at 7 o'clock tonight or 7:30," and then the whole day you're like, "Shit!" On top
Yep.
of all the stuff that I got to do, I
Yep.
also got to work out because I didn't do it in the morning and I really just should have done it. And
Yep.
then it starts to weigh on you. Something else that you have to accomplish when all that it took, if you just kind of struck when the iron was hot, um, you could have gotten done and over with. And for a lot of people, like how we're talking about just workout wise and fitness wise, that dread sometimes is the reason why they can't get cemented into a routine. Where, like you said, how it's cold here today, it's gloomy, it's a very like Octobery day. But last week when the sun's shining, the birds are chirping, you go, it's great. It's 70 degrees. I got a t-shirt and shorts on. I'm going to hit a workout, crank the music, the doors open, everything's sunny. And then you get days like today where you're like, okay, this is going to be tough to get going. But if every time it's tough to get going, or the days that aren't, 100% rosy, you end up going, I'll start again tomorrow, or I'll do it the next day, or I'll do it the next day. Eventually, like we were saying, you got to keep restarting that big push. And
It's
it's
just the
so
hardest.
much harder. And when you're used to mentally having it drain you, physically having it drain you, to keep stopping, starting, just like a car, like how you wear out your brakes. Same thing it does with your body and just your mindset and your overall demeanor. When you're constantly slamming to a complete stop, and then, okay, now I'm going to go 100 miles an hour, and then slam to a complete stop, and then 100 miles an hour. Where if you just took those 5 minutes to actually just keep the ball rolling, it might be a little uncomfortable for 5 minutes, but
Right.
I'd much rather have it be 5 minutes of uncomfortability than every other day or every other week having to start back at the beginning and not getting any improvement and not getting any, you're not making any progress.
Right. Absolutely. It's just a huge. I don't know. It was just I was just reflecting on it today. It's just a huge mindset shift to go. Instead of dreading on things coming up, you're not dreading the whole thing. You're just dreading 5 minutes of it. So that makes it such a good perspective to live your life in 5 minute intervals. That's a piece of cake, right? This 5 minutes
Yeah.
might be hard. Then it becomes enjoyable. Then it becomes something you actually love. We have a gym member here. He's been a member for years. He came over from another gym after COVID and all of that kind of stuff. And he was like, he's got a little bit of a drive to come here. And he was very like, it's a little bit of a hike, but I'm just going to see how it goes. I love my old gym, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, the last couple months he hasn't been in. I reached out to him, sent him a message, and then he came in this week and he goes, I kind of had this moment. I was talking with my wife, and he did a shred program months ago and lost a bunch of weight. And he's like, I've kept all the weight off, and I'm sitting there thinking about, do I keep want to drive all the way out there? And then he's like, and I just kept thinking, I just love this place. He's like, and I would let that get in the way of, I would let the fitness, like the hard challenge of working out, get in the way of the emotional. I feel awesome when I'm here with these people, when I'm working out, but when I leave, it is a positive thing in my life, in my day. And that's a prime example of he wasn't looking at it for the 5 minutes. He's like, yeah, you got 5 minutes of muscle discomfort, right? And
Yeah.
although, throughout the course of a workout it's long, you're really battling mentally for 5 minutes. He was letting that deter him from this really, really positive thing in his life. He's like, yeah, you sent me the message. I came back once, and he's like, and I'm back again. I'm thinking about you and Chelsea and the 4:30 crew. And he's like, I'm excited. I'm more excited to come, 3-4 days a week, get it rolling. And then, we had other conversations, to think about his why and why it's important to work out and not just yada yada. But point is, yeah, he was getting in his way. He was able to let this
Like talk
big,
himself out of it.
yeah, and kind of forget, oh, this is a very positive thing. It involves some work, it involves effort, it involves some hard, but it's a net positive. I just got to, I'm letting 5 minutes, ruin 5 years in theory.
Yeah.
Instead of, 5 minutes a day, I just got to suck it up and do something uncomfortable for 5 minutes. And I think that's a really good mental hack to get people if you're getting into fitness, if you're new to fitness, or if you're changing gyms or changing a new plan, or even with nutrition. That, like, you did that fast, right? It was very, very hard and grueling, but in the big picture of it, you would have 5-10 minute windows that you just needed to battle through, right? And then it would kind of alleviate, you'd get distracted, whatever it would be, and you'd wake up the next day feeling better.
Yeah. That was the hardest part. Was there was a day, I think it was on day 2, and I was making the kids macaroni and cheese for lunch, and I haven't eaten in like a day and a half. And that's when like I got like a headache, and you're like hungry, like you just want to eat something, like for
Sure.
just the sake of eating, like you want to chew something. But then it was in my brain, I'm like, I could just take one bite of this macaroni and nobody would even know. The kids wouldn't know, nobody else would know. But then that same thing, I'm like, okay, make their damn food. I go put it in their bowls, get away, and then same thing. I was like, just buy yourself 10 more minutes and
Yeah.
buy yourself 10 more minutes. And they ate their food, and I'm like, okay, it's out of here, it's gone. I didn't cave in. But that's a big one for food. They say cravings generally only last for about 5 to 10 minutes. And usually it's one, because you're bored, or two, you really just want like something else, but you're just going for something that's quick and easy. So if you can go, okay, I'm going to turn away the chocolate or turn away the cupcake, and I'm going to have, an apple instead, and then see how you feel 5 minutes after that. And then go, oh, I'm completely fine. I had an apple. I don't want the chocolate anymore. I
Yeah.
just needed to get something. Maybe my blood sugar was low. But instead of being so impulsive and going off of like instantly what your brain tells you, where it's eat this, do this, I don't want to do this, I do want to do this. Um, you have to kind of give yourself those mental mind checks and just go like, okay, this is just a short period of time that you have to battle through. And when it's over, it's going to pay off in the long run. But in our brains, like I've said this before, but we're our own worst enemies sometimes, where we will believe almost anything that we tell ourselves, whether it's logical or completely illogical. And like even today, I had to take the trash out today, and it was cold. I didn't want to do it. And there was an inkling that I was just like, I'll just let the trash pile up for a week and I'll take twice the amount out next week instead of just taking 3 minutes, grabbing 2 trash cans and
Yeah.
pushing them 20 yards down the driveway. But that's kind of how your brain works, right? It always wants to look for a place of comfort, a place of safeness. It doesn't want to be stressed. It doesn't want to be taxed. But when you do that, again, that's when that boulder stops moving. So anytime you have those uncomfortable moments, you have to kind of give yourself just that mental mind check and just go, am I just being a pansy right now? Or is this something that I actually have to kind of push through to get through to the other side? 9 times out of 10, it's just your brain's playing tricks on you. And you go,
Sure.
all right, I'm telling myself crap that isn't true. Push through this. I know I'll feel better after. But if anytime you just go, oh, here's a thought, I'm going to act on it. It's going to be very difficult just because you're going to be just in this impulsive state. When I feel good, I go 100 miles an hour. Oh, I feel bad today. Now I'm going 0 miles an hour. And there's never any like in between where all that progress is usually made.
Yeah. And I just think yeah, I mean, it just goes to show, like, one of the biggest things that I hate, that trash thing reminded me and made me think about it. One of the hardest parts of my day sometimes is just like my nighttime ritual. When we're sitting on the couch and you get all cozy, maybe I'll fall asleep or watching a movie or whatever, and then, or not, and then it's like I got to get up, I got to take the dog out, I got to brush my teeth, I got to whatever the routine is. It's just a 5 minute little routine, and sometimes it seems so hard, and then the second I get outside with the dog, it's easy. Yeah, okay, now we'll go in. But it's just the getting up, and I want to just go to bed, or I want to just keep sleeping on the couch, even. Like, I don't want to be, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? You're finally at rest. Um, I'm just thinking of more and more examples of this 5 minute thing. And it's just once you get started, yeah, the boulder analogy. Um, I, I mean, what's the best way to just I mean, my theory, and we talked about this last podcast, is changing your relationship with hard things. Like when you see something is hard, not avoiding it, right? Because life is full of, on a much more macro scale, and the big thing, and a little more deep spiritual world, you're going to have adversities through life. Nothing is going to just be easy ever. So if you get comfortable just avoiding every single adversity in your life, you're never going to like there's no actual growth that happens. You're floating through and you're missing
Yeah.
everything, and then everything feels like an adversity. Everything, going to the post office to send a package is hard because you've never done it before, or whatever weird example they're doing. Everything is uncomfortable because you've spent so much time staying comfortable, right? You've spent so much time just, it's and adversity is a big word, but you can bring it down to small little steps you do, right? If taking a shower first thing in the morning is not something that you like doing, and you don't do it forever, but like you should. I don't know, that's a weird thing. But water, that's a big one. People don't like drinking water all the time. It's like, but you need to drink water. So
Yeah.
the longer
Yeah.
you put it off, the harder it's going to feel. But if you just start drinking water, it's not even an adversity anymore. It's just a thing.
Well, it's
It,
even like how we've talked about the gyms and like, remember like when we were open, like the first year or two, what was like a level 10 freak out then is like a level 2 now.
sure, that's a great example.
Where you're like, okay, I've dealt with this. This is just gonna suck but before it was like 5 alarm fire. Oh my God, there's water coming in the gym, or there's a leak upstairs, or we got to do this. And oh my God, how the hell are we gonna get through this? And then you have enough kind of storms that you weather and you beat, and you're like, okay, we're still here, we're still spinning. This is gonna be a stressful moment, but I'm just gonna get through this like the other things did. And it all kind of gets like desensitized.
But if you
But when
didn't
you're
do,
not used to that, like if you're constantly just seeking comfort and coziness, by comparison, any situation is going to be a 10 out of 10 when
exactly,
all that you're looking for is like the easy way out. Because
exactly.
anything that, like you said, is that's worth doing is going to be a little bit complicated, but you do enough complicated or hard things, that kind of barometer keeps getting pushed down. And you're like, okay, this was hard for me 3 years ago, now it's a piece of cake. Or this was hard for me last year, now it's a piece of cake. And you eventually kind of grow out of it where the hard things become easy and then that just kind of becomes your status quo. But if you're always trying to find like what's the path of least resistance to everything, you're just going to stay stuck where you are looking and you're going to go, that's hard, that's hard, that's hard, that's hard, that's hard. I'm not doing any of that. I'll just stay where I am until the easy way opens up for me. And you end up waiting for years and it ends up never coming.
Yep. It's exactly, yeah, that's exactly well said. You know, like adversity is guaranteed. Hard shit is guaranteed. And it's all going to be different for everybody. And what's hard for me isn't hard for you, and yada, yada, yada. But instead of avoiding hard, setting yourself up for a life of having to avoid things, which is a harder life, if you just do the first 5 minutes, deal with the hard for 5 minutes, you know, you can grow. And all of a sudden, nothing is hard. That's just cool. I think that's a great, uh, because it's always hard to get, like, when I break through somebody, let's say somebody walked into the gym, just met us, and it's just like new. It's a big challenge, right? It's a big thing to just come in and start a fitness journey or whatever you want to call it. Um, it's always kind of that big breakthrough change to try to fix a relationship with doing hard things. And it's like, there's two parts. There's that part, but then there's also the part of the 5 minute part. Like, hard things are only hard for a couple minutes, right? The real hard things are the other things in life, but doing the day-to-day hard things prepare you for the big hard thing. It's just like this weird puzzle that we all find, and I think we get to a point in life where we are able to avoid and avoid and avoid and avoid, and we think that's living, and that's not. You know, the older
You're
I get,
running.
yeah, you're waiting. You're not doing what life is. You're just letting time pass. You know?
I always think about like that Goggins thing where the days that like I don't want to work out for a half hour, how he runs every single day. And he's like, almost every single day, I don't want to do this. And he's like,
Yeah.
and I'm running for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours nonstop. And he goes, pretty much every day. Because you guys see it on YouTube and you see it on TV. And he goes, I think you guys think that I just wake up and I'm just raring to go. He's like, my joints hurt, my knees hurt, my back hurts. He's like, usually it's probably the last thing on earth that I want to do. But he goes, but I make myself do it.
Yeah.
So I always think about that if I'm like, okay, there's people out there, or like how we were talking with Wilman at hockey, how he had to like orbit those Marines. Basically, one of our buddies is used to be a drill instructor. Drill instructor or drill sergeant. I always get them mixed up. One's for Army, one's for Marines, I think. But essentially, he'd have to wake up at like 3:45. He'd had like 20, let's say, Marines all in a row, like 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. And he goes, their arm had to be a certain way, their boots had to be a certain way, they had to hold their rifle a certain way. He goes, their helmet, hat, or whatever they had on had to be a different way shaved. And he goes, so as they're marching, he's like, I had to constantly run around as they're marching. And all of a sudden, one kid gets out of track, so I had to run to that kid, fix him, run to the other kid, fix him. So he goes, as we're, marching these miles, he goes, I'm having to go around them the entire time. So he's like, it was like, I forgot how many miles he said he
At
walked.
30. He said he would do
Yeah,
30 miles a day.
insane. 30 miles a day.
That's running
But stuff
a
like that
marathon.
you're like, okay, if I can take 5 minutes just to do whatever small task, whether it be work out for 30 or 45 minutes or don't eat the piece of chocolate, there's always somebody that's doing way more than you, even though it doesn't seem like it all the time.
Yeah. And that could be great perspective into just doing the hard. Hard is hard isn't scary. Hard is only scary if you spend your life avoiding hard. But once you start almost steering into hard, it's just hard. It's just another part of what we got to do, you know. It's the same thing as if you think about all the laundry you have to do for the rest of your life. That's very intimidating. You go, "Oh, I'm gonna be doing laundry. It's like, but guess what, dude? You and everybody else just does the laundry when they got to do the laundry, don't you? And you're gonna do all of that laundry one day. Yes, I mean that's the kind of the same mindset to work on developing when it comes to taking care of your body. It's just like every day I'm not going to want to do this. There's going to be week spans where I don't do a great job of this, but I'm not stopping, because stopping is not an option. So that's all I had.
Agreed. Now, speaking of hard, if you have a hard time getting in protein into your diet, collagen peptides and collagen protein powder is one of the easiest ways to do it. I was just staring at this, waiting for my chance for this
That was great.
awesome segue. But like always, guys, if you need help with your diet, if you're one person that's like, hey, I got a sweet tooth, every time at 8 o'clock, I go right into the cupboard. Whey protein, we have a chocolate, we have vanilla, we have cinnamon bun. If you do have a sweet tooth at night, my kind of get out of jail free card is I'll take a scoop of that, shake it up in some water, down it. It tastes delicious, and you don't get any of the crap. You don't get a shitload of sugar, and you get 20 grams of protein, so it's actually going to help fill you up and repair your muscles as you sleep. That's with the whey protein, and then we have collagen peptides as well. Great for your skin, great for your nails, great for your hair, great for your joints. Gives you a nice little dose of protein as well, and it's unflavored. So we have some people that put it inside their coffee in the morning. We have some people that just mix it in. If they make a smoothie, they'll dump it in there. You can't even taste it. It doesn't make it like thick or anything. It just dissolves really easy, and it's delicious. And we have everything else, guys. Pre-workouts, BCAAs, fat burners. We got pretty much everything under the sun. We have a vegan protein. You name it, we got it. We got multivitamins. If you head to core4supplements.com and you guys are a podcast watcher or listener, at the checkout, if you use the code word podcast, you will save 10% off your entire order. And if you spend over $100, you get free shipping on all of it. So I always recommend, if you're going to buy 2 or 3 things, get it all at once. And then that way you get the shipping cost waived, and you get 10% off if you listen or watch this, if you use the code word podcast. And the best part is it gets dropped off right at your front door. Again, core4supplements.com. But that's it, peoples. We got a nice break from hockey, me and Evie.
Yep.
But we're going into the off-season crowned champions.
That's right.
So that's all, people. If you see us and we just got a little bit different swagger, then that's why.
To be expected.
Whatevs. All right. Love you, peoples. We'll see you next week.
Balloons.
There they are.
Bye-bye.
There they are. We did it.